Welcome to 8-Limb Life, a podcast on living the 8 limbs of yoga, one step at a time. My name is Andra, and I am grateful you are sharing your time and presence with me as we explore this sacred wisdom. These teachings are ancient, but they're not meant to live in the past. They show up in how we speak, how we act, how we relate to others, and to ourselves. Each episode explores one of the limbs and how we can bring this wisdom into modern life. This is 8-Limb Life. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'd like to begin our time together today with a question. What are you willing to let burn away? What habits, beliefs, fears, stories, or patterns have you been carrying that may have once protected you, but now only keep you small? I ask these questions in service of the third of the niyamas, tapas. Tapas is often translated as discipline, fiery effort, or simply heat. The Sanskrit root tap means to heat or to burn. But when many of us hear words like discipline or austerity, we may imagine something rigid, harsh, or joyless. We picture gritting our teeth, forcing ourselves through discomfort, or endlessly striving to become someone better. Yet the yogic understanding of tapas is far more compassionate and profound. Tapas is the sacred fire of transformation. Just as gold is refined in fire, so too are we. Through practice, through willingness, through showing up again and again, we gradually burn away the layers that obscure our truest nature. The fire of tapas does not destroy us. It reveals us. It burns away resentment so that forgiveness can emerge. It burns away distractions so that presence can deepen. It burns away old identities so that something more authentic can take root. And perhaps most importantly, tapas asks us to become active participants in our own lives. Transformation rarely happens by accident. It happens through small choices made consistently over time. The choice to return to the breath. The choice to speak truthfully. The choice to sit quietly for 5 minutes instead of reaching for distraction. The choice to begin again and again and again. So as we explore this niyama together, I invite you to hold this question gently in your heart. What are you willing to let burn away? There is an ancient image found in many spiritual traditions. The image of alchemy. Historically, alchemists sought to transform base metals into gold. But beneath the literal quest was something much deeper. Alchemy was also understood as an inner process, the transformation of the human being. The lead was never simply lead. It was fear. It was attachment. It was unconscious habit. It was the heavy accumulation of old wounds, limiting beliefs, and conditioned patterns. And the gold, The gold was wisdom, freedom, compassion, presence, the realization of our true nature. In many ways, tapas is the alchemy of yoga. Through the steady application of practice, we place ourselves in the crucible of transformation. Little by little, what is false begins to fall away, and what is essential begins to shine through. This process is rarely dramatic. More often, it unfolds quietly. A person begins meditating for 10 minutes each morning. At first, nothing seems to happen. The mind still races. Restlessness remains. Yet after weeks or months, they notice they are responding differently to life. Maybe they pause before reacting, or listen more deeply. Maybe they recover more quickly from disappointment. This is lead becoming gold. Perhaps someone commits to speaking truthfully even when it feels uncomfortable. Slowly, they stop shape-shifting to please everyone around them. They become more authentic, more grounded, more at ease in their own skin. Again, the lead is becoming gold. Tapas reminds us that transformation is not accidental. It requires heat and discipline. In yoga, one of the primary ways we cultivate this transformative heat is through sadhana. Sadhana simply means spiritual practice. It is the collection of practices we return to consistently in service of awakening. I think many of us who walk a spiritual path wonder, what is awakening? In yoga, awakening doesn't usually mean a sudden, permanent state of bliss or some dramatic experience on a mountaintop. Those experiences can happen, but the traditions often point to something simpler. Awakening is the gradual remembering of who we are beneath our conditioning. It's becoming less identified with every thought, emotion, role, and story, and more rooted in the awareness that notices them. The ancient yogis would say that we suffer because we mistake who we are for the fluctuations of the mind. Our fears, achievements, failures, and opinions. Awakening begins when we realize, I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. I have emotions, but I am not my emotions. This is where our sadhana practice lives. For some, sadhana may include asana, meditation, pranayama, prayer, chanting, or time spent in nature. For others, it may simply be sitting quietly with a cup of tea before the world wakes up and remembering what truly matters. The form matters less than the sincerity. What makes something a sadhana is not its complexity. It is our willingness to return again and again. And yet, if we're honest, this is often where things become difficult. Consistency can feel mundane. The excitement of beginning something new eventually fades. The novelty wears off. Life becomes busy. We lose inspiration. This is precisely where tapas begins. Anyone can practice when they feel motivated. Tapas asks, can you practice when you don't? Can you remain devoted when the experience feels ordinary? Can you continue showing up even when no dramatic results appear? A beautiful metaphor comes from tending a fire. When we build a campfire, we don't simply light a match and walk away. The fire requires attention. We add wood. We protect it from strong winds. We gently coax the flame when it grows weak. Our inner life is much the same. Without care, the fire diminishes. We become consumed by a distraction. We move through our days on autopilot. We forget what matters. Sadhana helps us to tend the flame. Each time we unroll the mat, sit in meditation, step outside to watch the sunrise, or pause to take a conscious breath, we place another piece of wood on the fire of transformation. And over time, that steady flame begins to illuminate every corner of our lives. Of course, tapas can easily be misunderstood. Many of us live in cultures that already glorify striving, productivity, and pushing through. But yoga does not ask us to become harsher with ourselves. Tapas is not punishment. It is not forcing. It is not ignoring the body's wisdom. A healthy fire provides warmth and light. An uncontrolled fire destroys. The practice then becomes discernment. Can we cultivate enough heat to transform without burning ourselves out? Can we be disciplined and compassionate, committed and flexible, steady and kind? Sometimes tapas looks like getting up early to meditate. Sometimes it looks like resting. Sometimes tapas means staying in the difficult conversation. Sometimes it means walking away. The deeper question is always, what serves awakening? What supports greater presence, compassion, and truth? Perhaps this is why the opening question is so important. What are you willing to let burn away? Perhaps it is the belief that you are not enough. Perhaps it is resentment or perfectionism. Perhaps it is the constant need to stay busy, or it's an identity that no longer fits. And equally important, we ask, what are we willing to nourish? What qualities do you want to strengthen? Patience, presence, courage, love. Tapas invites us into conscious participation in our own becoming. It reminds us that while life shapes us, we also shape ourselves through the choices we make each day. Not necessarily grand gestures, small, simple acts. A breath, a pause, a practice, a beginning again. And perhaps that is the deepest teaching of tapas. Transformation does not happen all at once. Gold is refined slowly. The fire does its work gradually, and so do we. One breath, one practice, one day at a time. Thank you for sharing your time and presence with me, exploring the 8-limb life. My name is Andra, and I look forward to connecting with you more deeply with each and every episode. If you'd like to stay for an additional reading, I will share one at the end of each episode. May joy, love, peace, and laughter fill your lives and the lives of those around you. Namaste. This is a poem by Tupac Shakur, who was taken at only 25 years old, far too soon. The name of the poem is The Rose That Grew from Concrete. Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Proving nature's law is wrong, it learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one else ever cared.